So I'm Jeff, and this is Paulie. What's going to be our topic for today?
Desperation.
Good one.
That's a word that, if you're flipping the news channels these days, the world out there is getting rather desperate.
Yeah.
In many, many ways. And I try to stay on the positive side of the ledger and try not to watch the news all that often. But we are, the country is in crisis in many ways. And how that relates to addiction and to recovery. People in recovery just say, you know what, I've had enough. And
I immediately go right to the recovery aspect. And yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot, there's desperation in the country, there's desperate housewives, but, the one thing that really always, I always hear at meetings and has actually made a great deal of impact in my life is the gift of desperation. Because the fact of the matter is, unless I had to, unless it was bad enough, I didn't want to change it.
Well, there's no question, and all of the steps of recovery are based on that initial moment, what they call the jumping off place, or that moment of clarity, or, as Fred T. used to say, the gift of desperation, which really is G-O-D.
Right.
Which
right.
really is the underlying theme of all 12 steps of recovery.
I never made a change because, wow, things are going so good, I can hardly contain myself. Things are just great. Let me change that. I made changes because if I didn't make changes, I could be violating a probation order. My wife could be leaving me. I could actually have to start living outside again. So to me, that's really a big deal.
Well, Jeff, and you're 100% on the money. When the pain of the pain, and whatever the topic is, whether it's money or sex or power, romance or finance, when the pain of the pain gets great enough, then the pain of the change does not seem that difficult. And we, in recovery, are blessed that we have an outlet for that, because just this morning, I couldn't even watch the story on the television. You're a parent, and I'm a parent, and I don't even know the story, but I was flashing through in L.A. A guy who lost his job, came home, killed his wife and 5 children, and then himself. He lost his job. Now, if I killed myself every time I lost my job, I wouldn't be here for very long.
No, you really hit a point there. But there was a guy in Atlanta that did something like that, and it's amazing because even in something like that, somebody was so desperate and it made a change. Obviously, a very negative one, a terrible, horrible, horrific kind of change, but it still motivated him to do something, and it's so true. Unless I'm backed into a corner, I'm still trying to get the easy way out of this. But, recovery teaches you that, a little motivation, outside motivation, is not so terrible.
Well, and the great news is, and I said a prayer when I saw that story, because I really have a tough time even watching stories like that. But I said a prayer of thanks because people in the recovery process have an outlet to share. So in other words, like at any meeting you go to these days, people are sharing about losing their jobs. That's what's happening.
I was going to ask you about something. About that. You're fairly well known in the recovery community. I know you do the steps all over the country, for different quadrants. Do you find that, it seems like you would, and I would just validate, do you find that consistent, that desperation kind of affect hitting everybody?
No question. And it's not only in Ohio that you're hearing about on television, or Florida, which is and Las Vegas, which are the foreclosure capitals of the world. You're hearing about it everywhere with every person. Just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, 70,000 jobs in our country were removed. 70,000.
And that's what you're hearing in the news. You can walk into a meeting in Boca Raton, Florida, and people are talking about, I just lost my job today, and it's really a common occurrence. I mean, it's not like every couple of days. You hear it all the time.
Well, but here's the great news. Here's the real great news. That God will never bring you to a place that he can't get you through. So whether you're working or not working, whether you're married or not married, whether you have money or don't, whether you have a transportation or don't, whether you're in prison or you're free, you have the opportunity today, at this moment, to live in a sense of gratitude, to live in a place of trying to help someone. And if you try to help someone, God seems to take care of the rest.
And, you know, that's so true. If you look back at the last 30 years, for lack of a better word, you know, just picking out a clump of time there. In the last 30 years, if God didn't get you to that place and get you through it, you would have been dead long ago.
No question.
You know, enough of those things happen to us. Well,
so I think that we go out there, you know, my friend Maurice, God rest his soul, not a day goes by, and your friend also, not a day goes by I don't think about him. And he always said, he passed away a year ago last month, he always said, if you have your health and your freedom, nothing else matters.
right.
So if you're out there and you have your health and your freedom, you're having a little problem in some other areas, give us a call.
Okay, we'll be back. Paul, good to see you.
You too, Jim.
Maurice, it's for you.
Good night, Mo.
Talk to you later.